Hello, sports fans. Welcome to Super Sports Central. Today, we're going to be going over my top 10 running backs heading into the 2024 NFL season. And real quick, before we get into my rankings, this is not fantasy rankings, and this is also not how good of a season I think these running backs will have. This is simply how good I think they are right now. A few honorable mentions before we get into the top 10. Honorable mentions to Aaron Jones, James Cook, Travis Etienne, and Tony Pollard. Getting into the top 10, at number 10, we've got Jahmyr Gibbs. So Jahmyr Gibbs comes in at number 10 after a great rookie season with the Lions, where he put up 945 yards and 10 touchdowns. And those are good numbers for a rookie running back, but to make things even more impressive for Jahmyr Gibbs, he put up great numbers while splitting work with David Montgomery, as Montgomery actually had more carries than Jahmyr Gibbs, as Montgomery had 219, compared to Jahmyr Gibbs having 182. Jahmyr Gibbs was also second in the NFL with at least 10 carries of 20 yards, and also averaged 5.2 yards a carry, which was fifth among players who had at least 100 carries. Finally, Jahmyr Gibbs added 316 yards and another touchdown receiving, and after a great rookie season, totaling well over 1,200 scrimmage yards, Jahmyr Gibbs comes in at number 10. Coming in at number 9, we have Kyren Williams. So Williams is coming off his second career NFL season, where he had a huge breakout year, as he had 1,144 yards, which was third in the league, to go along with 12 touchdowns. And to make those numbers even better, Kyren Williams did those numbers in just 12 games, and he actually led the NFL in rushing yards a game at 95.3, and averaged 5 yards per carry. Kyren Williams also added 3 scores and 206 yards as a receiver, and after a huge second season in the NFL, Kyren Williams enters my rankings at number 9. Number 8, we have Josh Jacobs, now a member of the Green Bay Packers. But Jacobs enters my rankings at number 8, even though he's coming off a career-worst season. Last year was still solid for Josh Jacobs, but well below what he's used to putting up, as Josh Jacobs ran for 805 yards and 6 touchdowns on 233 carries, and averaged a bad 3.5 yards a carry. Now, I wouldn't put the bad numbers entirely on Josh Jacobs, as he was a part of a terrible Raiders offense and running behind a pretty bad offensive line. But even after a down year for Josh Jacobs, he's still one of the top 8 running backs in the NFL. Number 7, we've got Saquon Barkley. So I think Saquon Barkley is in a very similar position to Josh Jacobs. He's entering this season on a new team for the first time in his career, after being a free agent, and they both had down seasons for their standards. As last season, Saquon Barkley had 247 rushes for 962 yards and 6 touchdowns, and that's an average of 3.9 yards a carry. Now, as a receiver, Barkley had 41 catches for 280 yards and 4 scores. And I have Barkley at number 7, but I think he can have a huge season ahead of him, running behind a much better Eagles offensive line, and just being a part of a better overall offense. But Saquon Barkley enters at number 7. Number 6, we've got Bijan Robinson. So Bijan enters at number 6 after a good rookie season. Nothing too insane, but I think he'd be even higher on this list and would have put up insane numbers if he was actually used correctly. And now that Arthur Smith is out of the picture in Atlanta, I think Bijan Robinson is going to have a huge year. But obviously, as I said, this is not how good of a season I think they will have. It's how good I think they are now. But Bijan Robinson still put up good numbers as a rookie with 976 rushing yards and 4 scores on 4.6 yards carry. He also added nearly 500 receiving yards and 4 touchdowns on 58 catches. But Bijan Robinson, still a really good rookie year, enters my rankings at number 6. Coming in at number 5, we have Breece Hall. So he kicks off the top 5 and is coming in off a good second season in the NFL, where he had 994 yards and 5 touchdowns on 223 carries, while also adding 591 yards and 4 touchdowns as a receiver. Now that means Hall had 1,585 scrimmage yards, which was 4th best in the league, and 2nd best among running backs, only behind Christian McCaffrey. But Breece Hall has gotten off to a great start in his NFL career, and had a really good year last year coming off a torn ACL, and he enters at number 5. Coming in at number 4, we've got Nick Chubb. So Nick Chubb is my number 4 running back, but he is a very tough player to rank. because he suffered a devastating knee injury in week 2 of last season, plus he's old for a running back at 28. But Nick Chubb is still one of the top running backs in the NFL, as in his career, excluding last season, Chubb has always had at least 994 yards and 8 touchdowns, plus the extremely impressive thing, Chubb has always averaged at least 5 yards a carry. But Nick Chubb comes in at number 4 after a brutal knee injury last year. I hope he can be the guy he was before his knee injury. Obviously, we'll have to wait and see, but I still think Nick Chubb is still one of the best running backs in the NFL, and he comes in at number 4. Number 3, we have Jonathan Taylor. So, Taylor is a player like Nick Chubb, not coming off an injury, but Jonathan Taylor has only played 21 of 34 possible games in the past 2 seasons. Now, the good news is last year it wasn't due to an injury, it was due to a contract issue. But he played 10 games, and in those 10 games, he was pretty good, 741 yards and 7 touchdowns, while averaging 4.4 yards a carry. Now, I can understand the argument to have Jonathan Taylor a little bit lower because he hasn't played a ton. But when he has played, he's still been pretty good, and I think he's one of the top 3 running backs in the league, and Jonathan Taylor at number 3. Coming in at number 2, we have Derrick Henry. So, Derrick Henry is comfortably at number 2, and nothing seems to slow him down. Derrick Henry still put up great numbers last season, even though he was part of a bad Titans offense, and the Titans offensive line was horrible. As last season, Derrick Henry finished 2nd in the NFL with 1,167 yards and 12 touchdowns, and he also averaged 4.2 yards a carry. But Derrick Henry has rushed for at least 1,000 yards and 12 touchdowns in 5 of the last 6 seasons. And the one season he didn't get to those numbers, meaning 1,000 yards and 12 touchdowns, he had 937 yards and 10 touchdowns, and that was in the season where he played just 8 games because he broke his foot. But Derrick Henry, despite being 30 years old and the oldest running back I have in my top 10, he is still easily the 2nd best running back in the NFL. And at number 1, it is no surprise, it is Christian McCaffrey. He is the undisputed number 1 running back in the NFL, and he's also the reigning NFL Offensive Player of the Year. But Christian McCaffrey is coming off a great season in his first full year with the 49ers, as McCaffrey finished the year with 272 carries for a league-high 1,459 yards and 14 touchdowns. McCaffrey averaged 5.4 yards a carry, and was also very good as a receiver, as he had 67 catches and 564 yards to go along with another 7 touchdowns. But McCaffrey, the best dual-threat running back in the NFL, and even if he wasn't a good pass catcher, I still think he'd be the top running back in the NFL. That just goes to show how far ahead he is of every other running back, and how good he really is. But Christian McCaffrey, clearly the top running back in the NFL. But those are my top 10 running backs heading into the 2024 season. I'm sure you guys disagree with me somewhere along this list, so let me know where you disagree in the comments. But that's going to do it for this video. Thank you guys for watching. Be sure to like this video, subscribe, turn on notifications so you don't miss any other upcoming videos. I do my best to post as often as possible, and I will see you in the next video.